Hi traders, and welcome to today's ACY Securities Forex market analysis. My name is Duncan Cooper and I will be your host. Today we'll be focusing on the dollar index and the pound to the US dollar. So first we'll look at the news items coming out for the day, and then we'll have a look at the charts. Okay, so first I'm just at FinLogic looking at the economic calendar, and I'm just looking at this week's news items. Now I am focusing on the pound US dollar in my analysis this week, so that being said, I'm going to focus on what news items are going to affect the pound US dollar. So coming to the filter, just want to look at the high news items for the week. And these times shown are Queensland, Australian time. So there's nothing in, well, Tuesday we do have the actual US balance of trade coming out this evening. That could affect the pound US dollar. Into Wednesday, I don't see anything there. Into Thursday we do have the US core inflation rate and the US inflation rate coming out, so that will definitely affect the pound US dollar. And then lastly into Friday, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we've got the UK balance of trade. So those are news items that could affect the pound US dollar for the week, so make sure you're aware of those. Okay, let's get into the charts now. And we're going to have a look at firstly the dollar index, just to review what's going on there. This is the monthly chart. And as I've been saying over the past few weeks, on the monthly chart we're still getting support from these old resistance tops back in 2010, 2009. This one here specifically at 89.62. So on the monthly chart we've still got a lower bottom, lower top here, but we are holding on support. And the weekly, it's potentially putting in a double bottom here. The last 2 weeks we've had positive, what I would call spinning tops, so we're just holding to positivity. So maybe yes, support is coming in and a double bottom is forming here. Okay, just to have a quick look at the daily. And last week I was looking at this top here, wanting price to break above and change the trend to up. So we do now have a higher bottom on support to a higher top, and we're having a pullback from the poor job figures on Friday. So as long as this trend can hold and then move further back up, so we hold, move up to a new high again and start putting in a series of higher tops and bottoms, that'd be positive for the US dollar and negative for pairs to the US dollar. So with that in mind, let's now have a look at the pound dollar. So first to the monthly chart, and this is just the inverse look really of the dollar index. If you head left, I've already drawn in resistance. This is from May 2010 at 142.29, and we did hold here. But more recently, over the last 4 months, we've been holding at that level. Okay, we are in an uptrend. We've moved up from this lower low, moved through these highs, so that breaks the trend to up. So we have a higher high here, but we're at resistance, and often resistance will trump the trend. Quite clearly, when we failed here, we had a long-term move down. So are we going to get a long-term move back down here, or are we going to break through? Time will tell. Let's get into the weekly. Now on the weekly chart, what I'm seeing is the potential of a double top here. And if we just move over to the left hand side, we had a double top over here at that monthly resistance, and then a long-term move down. And what I'm noticing is when we had a double top here back in time, there was a bit of negative divergence on the MACD. Just tidy that up. And what we might be getting is the same thing. So again, possibly another double top at the resistance level from the monthly chart. And we just put in a higher high here last week, only just, but the indicator is getting nowhere near putting in a higher move at the moment. Now this is very slow to react, so over time it may come up if price moves further up, but if it doesn't, then we've potentially got negative divergence on the weekly chart forming over time. So let's just look at support and resistance and trend on this. Obviously at the moment on the weekly chart we've moved up from this low here to a high, to a higher low, up to a higher high, but is this a double top? Last week we put in a negative spinning top at resistance. Now weekly resistance is at 142.42. We just traded fractionally above that last week. Just put that in. Here we go. And then your weekly support at the moment would be here at 140.09. I'm just going to mark this low in here as well, because this could be a long-term target if we do start to move down. So this low is at 136.69. Alright, so just to review, we are in an uptrend on the weekly, but are we failing at monthly and weekly resistance, creating a double top up here for a decline? That's my viewpoint. To the daily, already on the daily chart I can see that we have broken below the last higher bottom here, changing the trend to down, and we're just starting to have a rally up. What I can see is in this area here, first of all, there's a bit of MACD divergence, slightly lower point on the MACD there to a slightly higher high up here. This is a higher high as well to this one over here, and quite clearly this is a lower area to this area here on the MACD. So we are seeing potentially 2 points of negative divergence there on the indicator to where price is double topping on the larger scale there. And on the minor scale, we do have potentially a double top here in this area just here where we've been consolidating. So we put in a fresh high last week, and then we moved and broke below this low here, turning the trend to down. But overall though, it is looking a bit range bound, and we'll see that on the 4-hour chart in a moment. So slightly in the downtrend at the moment, and I'm just going to put in daily support from this low that we false broke at 140.91 at the end of last week. So we are starting to see some negativity on the day chart, slight downtrend forming, but a little bit range bound at the moment. Alright, so let's move it to the 4-hour chart. Now we can see that there's lots of lows over here to the left. This is your daily support low. So we came down on Thursday last week, tried to move through that level and couldn't. Then into Friday we had poor job figures, so this moved back up. And there's a high here and a high here at or very close to the 142 level. In terms of trend at the moment on the 4-hour, it's we've got a lower top, higher bottom, so it's a little bit mixed. And overall, you've got your support here, you've got your resistance up here. So it's rather range bound. But with a negative week last week, day chart now in a downtrend, I'm looking to be a seller, and I'd like to be looking at or above 142 to sell. Just drawing a fib from the high of last week's high to low, and from the low point we've come up to the 62 a couple of times, once and twice. I would like to see price just get a bit higher. I'd like it to come up to the 79% level at 142.12 area. If I can see price get up to there and start to fail once more, we've got lots of highs to the left here for resistance. If you can get up to that level, hold and fail and start to move back down to 142 and below, I'd like to be looking at around 142 to sell, taking a position for the long term, for a long-term move down. Okay, so with that in mind, I just want to move back to the daily, have a look at a long-term target, and just want to put a fib in from the double top area to the lowest point of that range. And potentially when you've got a double top, the height of the pattern projected below can be a long-term target, and I've got that marked in here at this 200 mark here. So just to emphasize, that's the height of the pattern, and that can often be then projected below to give you a long-term target, and that is at my 200% level here. So in the short term, if you could get in at 142, stop at 143, the first target would be the low here, and that's at 136.69. That would offer up a 1 to 5, slightly more than 1 to 5 risk reward. If it broke this area and did move down to the projected range below the low, that would be down at the approximate 131 level. That would give you an opportunity of a trade with risk reward of 1 to 11, which would be ideal. Now, to get down to here would take a long time, obviously, but it would be a great opportunity with great risk reward. Okay, so that's my analysis for today, and I look forward to seeing you next time.